Hello, everyone. This is Rob McCoy with Holganics. Today, we're going to be going over building stronger trees, shrubs, and flowers with Holganics products. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. As I said, it's us, and I am the guy on the right. And with me, and these pictures represent us pretty well because Ed doesn't do anything normal. So that's Ed on the left, hugging trees. He is one of our horticulturalists here at Holganics. So Ed, why don't you say hello?
How you doing, everybody?
And I'm the sales manager here at Holganics. So we both work with customers all over the country. So we hear a variety of different situations and problems that we try to solve, and hopefully we'll be able to guide you today and give you some more insight. So since we shared who we were, we would like to figure out who you are. So we have a poll question.
1 second, no launch. So what industry are you from? Greenhouse, horticulture, lawn and landscape, other, or I'm a distributor / Holganics partner.
And that lovely voice that you hear is Katie, who is our technical support, and who many of you, if you've been on a webinar before, have heard her voice.
Okay.
What do we have, Katie?
If 64% of you are in the lawn and landscape industry, 9% are in horticulture, 9% other, and 18% come from our distributors and partners.
Fantastic.
So hold on 1 second, guys.
So one other thing is that, as you notice, we have everyone on mute, and we will be fielding all the questions at the end of the webinar. So feel free to type them in as we go along, and we'll stockpile them and try to run through them once we're done the meat of the presentation.
1 second, my
Apple products.
yeah. Well, usually I would disagree with you there, but hold on 1 second, guys. The thing is just a little messed up. I'm going to fix it for us.
That's why we have technical support.
Okay, so we should be decent now. Just going to throw it on. All right.
All right.
So now you're looking
We're
at
good with
Ed and
this?
Rob. They weren't before. All right.
All right, our agenda for today, we're going to go through plant start applications. That's for, all installation purposes. Soil Smart programs, which is going to focus on your maintenance aspects. Case studies, so from different parts of the country, different uses that we've found had success with Holganics. And then, as I mentioned before, the Q&A section at the end where you can ask anything and everything. And if it doesn't have anything to do with Holganics, then I'll make Ed answer it. All right, so Holganics programs. No matter the product or program, Holganics focuses on soil biology as the solution to plant health. So even though we have a variety of different products, different product lines, they always start with biology in mind. How can we utilize biology to increase plant health and increase the results that we are striving to achieve throughout the industry? So 2 ways to use Holganics tree and shrub. As I mentioned before, we have plant start applications and soil smart programs. Now, traditionally, when you would have an installation of, let's say, an ornamental, you would go to the nursery, you would get a tree that is in perfect health in most cases, take it home or to your customer's house, do a perfect installation and water it in, and then
in most cases, you see some type of transplant shock, or the tree takes a little while to get going and really have the visible and aesthetic values that you would want and that your customer would want um, in a newly treated tree or shrub. With Holganics Plant Start installation program, there's only one difference in this process. You're still going to go to your nursery and get a plant that's in good health. Still go through your regular planting practices. Make sure you have the right depth, right size hole, right location. But when you go to the process where you're going to water it in, you're going to water it in using Holganics Bio 800 Tree and Shrub or Bio 800 Bloom. What that's going to do is it's going to help that tree feel like it's in its native environment. And rather than just survive, it'll be able to thrive. It will incorporate all the biology needed into the soil ecosystem in order to make that plant feel like it's in its a native environment. So why use the Holganics Plant Start application? So we went through transplant shock, but really you're trying to get these plants to root in, and you want strong plant roots. Typically, the stronger the root system, the better the foundation that you have for that plant, and a boost of color. So Ed, you've worked on a number of installations before in using both tree and shrub and bloom. What do you think is the most important aspect when we're talking about these different benefits?
Definitely transplant shock, especially if you're in the situation where you're doing like a row of arborvitaes, or there's one or two things that die that make you look really bad. This really helps that not happen. And it's basically like insurance for any of your installations, just so, because time is money in this industry. So not having to go out and rebuy that plant and go to Miss Jones' house and replant that, it pays off in spades down the run.
Yeah, if you take into consideration not just the cost of the plant, but the cost of the time and effort and your reputation when it comes to what the initial look is of that landscape when it goes in. And if you think about when you're going to get referrals from your installation customers, it's going to happen when that installation is still fresh and new. So you want it to look at its best at that point in time, because that's when friends and family and neighbors are going to take notice of it, because they'll notice something's different, and you want it to be at the top of its game, and so you can build up your business through referrals. So as I mentioned, the two products, Holganics Bio 800 Tree and Shrub and the Bio 800 Bloom. Ed, do you have a preference when you're doing an installation as to which one of these you like to use?
It's either or. I mean, when you're planting more herbaceous, woody, flowering things like hydrangeas and roses, I would probably lean towards more of the Holganics Tree and Shrub. For all your other annual and perennial installations, just you can go ahead and use the Bloom.
Right. So what does a plant start installation look like? So there's many different ways that this can be done. It really depends on the equipment that you have. We provide Bloom RTUs, that's ready to use units. They're in quart size containers, where basically you can just hook that right up to the end of a garden hose and water it in that way. You could use something like a Chapin sprayer, where that's a hose end sprayer, and refill it with Bio 800 product. Backpack sprayer, watering can. Ed, have you found any one that you like more than another, or that you any situation where you found that maybe it was cumbersome?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have access to like a 100-gallon spray tank with something that a heavy contractor would use, I really prefer the hose end sprayer. The Chameleon hose end sprayer, which is sold at every Home Depot and Lowe's throughout the country, is about $10, and I've been using the one at my house for about 4 years. So it's safe to say it's worth the money, and it's just the best way where you can easily go from your flowers to your lawn to your trees all in one simple little hose end guide, which is it's really easy. 8 ounces in the football and spray away.
Yep.
And we're gonna be supplying a video that shows you how to use it in each of these instances.
Which Ed stars in that, doesn't he?
He does. He's our movie star. But you guys will be getting that in a follow-up email.
So that's the Plant Start applications. Now we're going to look at Soil Smart type of program. Similar to what we discussed before with how it typically looks and how it would look with Holganics incorporated into it. Your normal programs would incorporate fertilizer and other pest control aspects that are all synthetic based. We've been able to get results for a long time using those products, but it seems that we have to keep using more and more of these products, and they're not necessarily helping plant health. We're getting some of the aesthetic values that we're looking for, but not necessarily the agronomic value behind that. If you incorporate some of the Bio 800 products and even some of the other Holganics products that aren't in the Bio 800 line, you can use that still with some of the synthetic products. You just get to use less of them because of the efficiency properties that come along with Bio 800. So in doing that, you're not only cutting back on the synthetics and the pesticides, but you're also building up that root system again and the soil ecosystem to create more efficiency for plant health. So Ed, when I don't know, how long has it been that you've been working on trees and shrubs?
18 years.
18 years, and for the last 10, you've been using Holganics products, correct?
Yes, started about 2007.
So what were some of the differences you saw, because you were a maintenance contractor?
Yes.
When you switched over, what was the differences that you saw?
Just the, seeing diseases clear up within a 2-week time frame that I was spraying for years and years and years with synthetic fungicides and seeing no results and getting sick and getting dogs sick and killing bees and, killing beneficial insects and, when Holganics fell on my lap and I used it and saw, like I said, results that in 2 weeks that I was trying for years, it was a very eye-opening experience for sure.
Can you give me a specific example of one of those?
Yeah, one of my biggest pain in the butt lawns had eastern red cedar on one side and a row of hawthorn and crabapple on the other side. So by July 1 every year, there were 0 leaves. So when I first came across Holganics, that was the first property I went to, and within 2 weeks, everything had leaves and everything was healthy and disease-free, and Mrs. Jones was happy for the first time in a long time.
And how did you do those applications?
That was installation rate. It was a little bit heavier than a normal maintenance rate. So the normal maintenance rate for a tree and shrub program would be 2.25 for 200 gallons of water. I went installation rate, which is 2.25 for 100 gallons of water, and did a total base drench, soil drench, below the leaf, top of the leaf, and soaked everything. Went back 7 to 10 days later, did the same application, and when I went back to the third time, everything was cleared up.
Wow. Okay, great. So Ed, why don't you take us through some of the different variations that you've done with applications on different landscapes?
Well, a lot of them turn into, for all you installers out there, it can turn into something as easy as, offering to use our product with the initial application or installation, and then say, hey, this stuff's going to really look good if I come back and keep doing it. And you can offer an organic product that can do that. Customers really typically like to agree with that to some point. So, but there's a lot of different ways you could do it. Whether it be from I don't know what we're looking at here, the balloon, the PB1.
So if let's say that you are doing a 6-step program throughout the year, what would that look like for you in the Northeast?
Northeast, it can be easy as it goes in a lot of it goes into how much people like using dormant oils, or if you just want to go out and spray just Holganics. Installation rate in the springtime, maintenance rate during the summer months, and back to the installation rate in the fall time with a soil drench and a foliar. in the fall and the spring, because the most important times of the tree during the year is, you know, in the spring and the fall. So just that heavy rate with the soil drench in the spring, like I said, with the maintenance rate during the summer months and heading back towards the heavier rate in the fall time, you'll see some excellent results.
So we've been bouncing back and forth with a few different products, but now we're going to focus on Holganix Bloom. Again, that is a Bio 800 product. It's designed to build plant resilience and strength, develops root growth, promotes more plentiful and more colorful blooms, and reduces the need for fertilizers, pesticides, and water. So, Ed, I have a jug of Holganix Bloom in my refrigerator in my garage at my house. And I don't measure how much I put into a watering can. And I just go around and water the plants in my house. Is there any possibility that I cause harm doing that?
Not at all. When you're talking about all of our Bio 800 products, you're talking about a 0.000 analysis product, which is just as gentle as water. So whether you're pouring our concentrate whole on a plant or diluting it with water, all you're going to be doing is wasting your dollars. That's it.
So I also put this on my vegetable garden at my house. Anything to worry about there?
Not at all. Not at all. Your tomatoes are going to be too big that your plant will fall over. That's about it.
The zucchini was rather large.
Yeah.
So then we have the Bio 800 tree and shrub. Again, organic, living plant probiotic. Built to design the resilience and strength in the plant, develop the root growth, and same thing with the fertilizers, pesticides, and water. And you typically use this as your backbone of your tree and shrub programs, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're just spraying Holganix and water, you do not need any type of applicator's license. It's only when you start getting into, you know, things like dormant oils and insecticides that you would probably have to go out and get some type of applicator license. But just Holganix and water, spray away.
So when you are using dormant oils and insecticides in a tree and shrub program, were you cutting back on the rate, or were you just finding that you didn't need it as often?
Yeah, with what I found was I totally cut fungicides and all my fertilizers out from Jump Street and saw absolutely no drop off at all. And with the dormant oil, you automatically cut your rate in half. And what I said, by the time I was out of my last year of spraying lawn or spraying trees, I didn't do any oil at all, and just did an elevated rate and got just as good a result, if not better, than when I was spraying dormant oil in the winter, in the springtime, and the fall time.
Great. So another one of our products is PB1. It's PB1 LTO 402. So this does have a fertilizer in it. It's nitrogen fixing bacteria and also has a polyamino acid in it, designed to specifically work within the root system of the plant to pull nutrients closer. And after all, you know, one of the things that we're trying to accomplish with the Bio 800 is converting all those nutrients within the soil into a usable form for the plant. So the two products work well together. What type of results have you seen using PB1 LTO?
This is pretty much the same results that I saw using the Bio 800 product. But like I said, I prefer to use the Bio 800 just because of the safety factor. Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing, but you know, minus your refrigeration. So if the refrigeration is an issue, you know, there's always that customer that can't have a refrigerator or is worried about refrigeration. So this is an excellent option for them.
Yeah, and I would say that you don't see the same type of fringe benefits with PB1 that you would see with the Bio 800, specifically within plant healthcare.
Yeah, when you're talking about like right now, when things are, you know, young and, you know, very susceptible to any type of fertilizer burn, you know, that's the good thing about the Bio 800 product. You can go out and spray away, but you know, with the PB1 product, you'd have to probably, you know, keep an eye out just a little bit more, but you know, still the same efficiency.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've found is that in tree and shrub maintenance, how it differs from lawn care is in lawn care, everybody's looking for a specific color, a specific amount of growth. And you know, PB1 LTO is a very, very efficient nitrogen source, where you don't have to worry about, burn with it and things like that. But in plant healthcare, if you feel like you need to get that nitrogen and you're concerned with the nitrogen sources that you have available to you, this is really a plant-friendly version of getting nitrogen to the plant. When it's, you're worried more about plant health than the color. You could have really healthy grass and it not be the greenest on the block because it's not getting pumped full of nitrogen at the same time as a neighbor's lawn. So you don't have that aspect to worry about. But if you say you have a brand new home with like kind of a starter landscape that you're working with, and you have really warm temperatures, this is a really good product to incorporate with the Bio 800 because the combination of the two products are going to bring more growth nutrients into play, and so they'll address the plant health plus getting those plants to get a little bit larger. Speaking of growth, this is a pretty good segue. We have our Blue Sky 2100. It's a slow release nitrogen. Now, this is, I would say, although this is very friendly for warm temperatures, this is going to be a bit more aggressive on the nitrogen side of things. But what is unique about this is the food sources for the biology that you have within it. So if you incorporate Blue Sky with the Bio 800, there's a synergistic value there. So you're not only adding the biology directly into the soil, you're increasing the populations of biology in the soil by adding more food sources into it. So not only do you have a really high quality fertilizer, but you also have that biological aspect that I hinted at the beginning of the webinar when we were discussing that at Holganics we start with a biological focus and see how we can help with plant health. And this fertilizer is definitely geared towards that, not just pumping nitrogen into the soil the same way a synthetic fertilizer would, but utilizing really high quality nitrogen sources and increasing the population of the biology in the soil to use them more efficiently. So another fertilizer that we have is our prebiotic 21020. Ed, I know that you've used this a few times. Where have you seen the benefit of this?
Just in the healing in, going back to the installation aspect, just the heal in time combined with the Bio 800, pretty fantastic. A little bit with sod, but I noticed it with a row of arborvitae that I planted at my house. There was about 3 of them, and we got a pretty stiff wind a couple days after I did the installation, and I was all worried that I would have to go out and stake them. But after the storm, I went out and they were all rooted in very nicely, and it was only about a 7 to 10 day interval afterwards. So it's another fairly eye-opening experience.
Yeah, and most people that are working with plants understand how phosphorus and potassium are going to play an integral role in the root development of the plant. This again has polyamino acid in there that is going to expedite the process of rooting it in. So if you incorporate the Bio 800 with the 21020, then you're really maximizing that root growth. So we have a couple case studies that we want to go over. So we have the shrubbery specialist. I believe they were in Alabama, right?
That's correct.
So Ed, you looked through this case study, and what did you find?
I found that everything that I've been talking about this product for the past couple of years, especially with the roses and the boxwoods, things like black spot on roses was another one of those diseases I was fighting for years and years and years, and just saw vanish when I was applying on roses when I was spraying. Same with boxwoods. Boxwood blight's a pretty big problem, and it's pretty hard to control. And if I can remember correctly, the shrubbery specialists were spraying them on pretty old boxwoods, that 200-year-old boxwoods that hadn't looked that good in, what'd you say, 25 years or something like that, whatever she said. So, it goes, on with the same, and, adding no insecticide. I think this lady was strictly Holganics too, so she wasn't adding one thing just besides organics, and
Just the BioLite
just
100.
the BioLite 100. That's it. I think that's what if I remember correctly.
Yeah, unless you had a need.
Yeah, so and I think she had a little bit with the gardenia, just because of the Wi-Fi problem, but you know, it just goes back to, you know, just spraying organics at a nice installation rate, and you know, the results that she saw with that was, you know, was very it was good to hear. Maybe I'm not crazy, you know.
Only a little bit crazy.
Well, it's nice to hear people agree with what you say.
Unbelievable. Happens sooner or later.
And you'll notice that we have links on the bottom of these slides. You will receive these links in a follow-up email so that you can look at the case study. Another one is Benerget Greenhouse in New York. So Ed, what'd you see here?
I mean, I just see a bigger poinsettia on the right than the left. You know, and
sometimes
with
that's
with
simple.
poinsettias, you know, it's a notoriously pain in the butt thing to grow in a greenhouse. And to see, you know, a guy that was been growing them a while and see the results from, you know, like I said, I think that was just the organics and that's it type deal. So.
And obviously, most plants are, you know, have a seasonal need to them. Poinsettias are, you know, have an obvious need at around the holiday season. But these were grown in New York, Western New York, where it's, even though it's indoor, still extremely cold. So it's a controlled environment, but they're still dealing with outside circumstances that are penetrating in. And, you know, I was surprised to see that, you know, we show the numbers and the reduction of the fertilizer and the reduction of fungicides. It's just the kind of the peace of mind that he kept going back to, that like, hey, I have a more predictable crop of flowers, you know, so that reduces stress for, you know, a greenhouse grower.
There's also a marketing advantage towards the end, as he was getting ready to sell these to he sells them wholesale. He noticed, and his customers noticed, that his poinsettias were more full than some of the neighboring greenhouses.
Yeah. So another one, actually, neighboring garden center, I believe, at Zers in Western New York. You know, it's funny, they were using our product for years, and they were kind of flying under the radar, and we didn't notice it. And we contacted them to see what they thought and why they were using the product. And it was some pretty rave reviews there. Katie, do you remember what, I mean, besides the overall healthier plants and less problems with insect and disease, do you remember what they said?
So for him, if I remember correctly, and you guys can look at the blog afterwards, for him, it was all about creating a full looking plant for the homeowners. He has this available for homeowners primarily, and some contractors. And secondly, the marketing advantage, as he was using less of the inputs than a competing garden house might. And he was able to use that to his advantage when talking to homeowners.
Cool. And then the last one, Red Diamond, and they're down south. Ed, you had reviewed this several times, so what'd you find?
I think he, if I can remember correctly, won a lot of awards because I was looking at the
Katie, what was the specific award?
The Red
So
Diamond
he
or
won the Green Star Award, but he's also a consultant for sustainable management for landscapes in general. He speaks on the subject. He's brilliant. I'm just going to put that right out there. And he essentially, his job is to oversee a 72-acre facility for this Red Diamond Tea and Coffee is the company. And so he oversees the turf side, but also the landscaping side, or the landscape as far as the garden beds and whatnot go. And his boss has a very heavy demand on him. He needs to be changing out his garden beds 4 to 6 times a year. And when he plants them on day one, he's expected to have a full, beautiful garden bed, despite having only just planted them. So he needed these guys to look nice and full. And he uses Organics Bloom and Organics Tree and Shrub on anything he plants. Literally, in quotes, if you watch this YouTube video, he will say, I will not plant anything without Holganics Bio 800 products. And in addition, from a maintenance perspective, he was able to reduce his fertilizer needs, see less disease. He saw improved root growth, which speaks to the installation story. And it's not on here, but he saw less water. He didn't have measurements around it, but he needed less watering on his garden beds as well.
So as you know, there's also been plant shows and things like that where we've had users use the product for the exact same reason, that even though you can grow it in your greenhouse in a controlled environment and have a beautiful plant, that transportation and transplanting, can just cause stress to it. So you can create a great base by growing it with Bio 800 before you move it, but that's why he was incorporating it also at time of installation. That, I'm going to build up a really resilient, strong plant before I take it out there. And when I get it out there, I'm going to make sure that all the surrounding soil is going to be able to support it in the exact same way. So this is one of those little secrets to success on how they have these installs go in and look like they've been there for a full season, and really get rave reviews from that.
My favorite case study, by the way, if
Yeah.
anybody is deciding on which one to watch that one.
And this one, it's about 25 minutes, and it's only an interview between actually him and I on flowers, trees, and shrubs.
So Incredible Edible Community Gardens, I believe out in California.
That's right.
The increased flowering on orchard trees and improved quality of planting on installs. What were some of the highlights that we saw on this?
So for these people, they're a nonprofit organization, and they install along sidewalks and so on in certain communities. They also have community gardens and whatnot. And so their biggest highlight was actually the installs as well. It was making sure that those plants took off well during installs along in these community areas. But they also saw some interesting things in terms of plant quality and plant health in a maintenance setting, so less disease and so on.
And they plant in some unique locations where you wouldn't typically think that plants are going to survive well. So they feel as though they have to incorporate products like this in order to really change that soil. And that reminds me, you would often see on commercial sites where you have the parking lot islands with trees planted in there. I used to call them tree coffins. Because the amount of heat that comes off of the parking lots and the stone that's underneath of it, there's really nowhere for that root system to go. So it has to thrive in a really rich soil ecosystem in that small space. So keep that in mind when you're planting and you have a unique spot that you have to plant in, and as soon as you question, is it a good idea to plant here, and then you don't have a choice that you have to plant there, make sure that you're incorporating a Bio 800 product, because you need to control that soil environment as much as you possibly can. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and look for the next set of webinars on the website, and all of Katie's wonderful information that she's going to send out in the follow-up email.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a great day.